button. I am so excited. We are continuing Money May, and I have an amazing guest. Welcome, Theresa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I am so excited to be here. Just
Me,
thrilled.
yeah, I'm like, me too. I'm like, everything is so divinely guided for me. I love that this podcast brings so many amazing women to the center stage, basically. So, in this moment right now, what is that thing that's lighting you up the most?
Oh, the thing that's lighting me up the most. I am focusing right now on how do you create energy, right? How do you work with your energy and really, really create like the life you love? Like the life you love in in your finances, in your time, in your relationships, in like, people talk about financial freedom, but I think part of the components that are also really super important is not only financial freedom, but like mental freedom, emotional freedom. Like, how do you, like, let's just get it all, right? Like, let's just really like have that juicy life so that it's all combined into one.
Yeah. And I think that the thing that I see a lot is that when we have this financial freedom, so many people end up in that hustle and burnout and misery. And I know that's one of the things that you are really good at helping people shift out of. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story because I know that just from doing a little bit of research, you probably were there at one point in time.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I've been a real estate investor for 20 years. And I was at a point, I remember back in 2017, where I was an empty shell of a person. And I was so burnt out and so sad and very empty. And everything just felt like this massive to do list. And it was just like every morning I get up, okay, and it's go time. And I felt like I was on this treadmill running, running, running as fast as I could. And I couldn't see the end. And so I literally sat in my living room and I have this big, beautiful plant. And I looked over at my plant and I'm like, Veronica, is this all there is? Like, oh my gosh, like it just didn't feel right. And I felt guilty. I felt really guilty. I felt really bad because I had a nice house. I had my health was so decent. I have kids. I have like all looked great on the outside, but yet I was so empty and so drained and unfulfilled that yeah, it was a really low point in my life. So I got a call from my dad, and he told me that he had stage 4 lung cancer and that he had literally 3 months to live. And I was like, it really kind of shakes you up because you're gonna, you don't know what's gonna happen. And luckily, happy story at the end, but luckily, he's fine. He's fine now. But it really led me into this journey of, oh my gosh, if I was sitting there at the end of my life and all I'm doing is this hamster on this wheel and doing hustle, grind, and staying up late and doing these emails, and for what? And so it gave me the opportunity um, to not only look at where I'm at, and I feel like a lot of ladies that I talk to are at that point. They're really into that hustle and grind, and they're just so overwhelmed, and they're like, I don't know what to do. This is all I know. But just like reevaluate everything, how I was doing everything. I didn't even know about energy and work and everything else at that time. So it was really great, Jennifer, for me to kind of dig into a new aspect of spirituality and energy to redefine my entire life.
So, how did you find energy work?
Well, when my dad was sick, that was really scary. And I was like, holy cow. Like I knew like you could heal. There was healers out there. There was people who healed and there was miracles I had heard about. And then there was a family member who was 17 years old that committed suicide. And so I was like, oh boy, I have little kids. I've got to figure this out. Like, I'm empty right now. I have these kids. Like, how, like, it was so sad for me to feel like he was, thought that that was the only option for him. How do I bring in that energy? How do I heal myself, heal other people? Like, how do I figure this all out? So, like so you're mentally healthy and you're emotionally healthy and like physically healthy. And so I really took a deep dive into spirituality. I remember, luckily my husband was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Because I'd be sitting in the living room meditating for hours. And yeah, and what I found was I was really at a good place, and I really was grateful for learning some tools and some strategies to fill myself up. But what I was wanted to start to play with was like, okay, now that I kind of got myself coordinated and situated in a great place, how do I play with this in business? And how do I bring it into the business world? And how do I like do real estate deals and use like that quantum and that energy to like play in business too? And so yeah. So it led me to this process that I kind of stumbled upon, where I took all the really practical, like the tools that I learned in this energy healing work, and I started playing with it in real estate and in business. And the results were amazing. They were so much fun. And it was kind of cool, Jennifer, because I would like start to play and I'd be like, oh, I wonder if I can create this. And it'd be like, wow. It became a really, really fun process that I incorporate. So it's interesting because it's hard to articulate sometimes, because you're like, I do this 3-step activation process. And for some reason, I don't know why, but for me, it's like 3 weeks. If I'm working on a really big something, it pops in 3 weeks later. And so what I kind of like to tell people is I go through this quantum activation process and I kind of get it all situated. And then I tell the universe what I want. And then I'm like, here you go. And then like they cook it all up and they bring it down to me. I don't know. So it's kind of really fun.
You said so many things that light my heart up. I'm like, fun and play in business. Yes, please. But for the audience that doesn't understand, like, what is quantum activation?
Yeah. So the way I kind of think about it is your mind is so powerful. Like your intention is so powerful. And what you can create in your life is so powerful. And if you ever, like, it's kind of like when you're thinking about somebody and all of a sudden they call you. And I know we all have those coincidences, right? But it's having that kind of focused intention and creating something with that level of quantum. And like the level for me of quantum is that kind of that space where you're like, it's almost like the creation space where you activate your power of intention for creating the life you want into that creation space. And how do you do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a good explanation, but we're so powerful, like so powerful beings. And when you can tap into that, your inner strength and your inner power and your focused thought, and like really start to create what you want, it's pretty magical. And it's taking the time to do it, right? Without the distractions and the traffic and the noise and everything else going on in your life. It's to be able to take that quiet space to activate that process. It's so powerful.
Oh, do everybody hear that? Take that quiet space so that you can activate to get to that next level. Like, we need that quiet space, and hustle culture has not put that out there, which is why I'm loving these conversations for Money May, because I am talking to, spiritual healers that are helping women in business. You can have a very structured divine masculine business and then weave in this like feminine, beautiful flow of abundance. And that's where I'm like, I know quantum is both, but I feel like quantum for me cracked me open for that feminine flow where you get to have fun in your business. So I love that. And I know that you're doing wishes come true. And I have to know, where did wishes come true come from? How did you download that?
Perfect. So wishes come true came from when I was sitting there back in 2017 and talking to my plant. And I feel like there's so many women that give so much to everybody else and everything else, and they really stop wishing. They stop their dreams. They put their dreams on hold. And I was at the point where I'm like, who am I? Like, yes, I love my kids and I give everything to my kids and my husband and like our business and everything else. And I was like, well, what about my dreams? Like, am I even allowed to have any dreams? Do I even like, gosh, I'd really like to start like, you're this beautiful human soul here to experience so much wonderfulness. And like, it was such a weird thing to be like, is it okay even to wish for something that I want, which seems kind of silly, right? Like, but it almost like I was starting to program and I was like, oh, well, later, or like, oh, that's for later. Like you're for later. Your wishes are for later. Your desires are for later. And I was like, no, like times like let's put our wishes now. Let's create now. Let's create a life that I love now. And it can be magical for everybody involved in my life. And so one, I wanted it to be a place where women can come and be like supported and to do energy work and to have the mental clarity to create a little mini plan every week so that they're working towards their dreams and their goals. And it was okay. It was okay to be a place like one of the gals in our group is so fun. She's like, I want to be a DJ. Her girls are off to college. She's like, I'm going to be a DJ. We're like, you go, girl. And so she is taking lessons and she's going to be a DJ. And she goes, the one thing I would have told myself, my younger self, was don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait for your dreams. Don't wait for what you want to create in your life. Don't put yourself on hold. And it's okay. It's okay to want things for yourself. It's okay to wish for yourself. It's okay to do things for yourself. And so it's been really fun. It's been really magical. And so every week we get together and we do a little energy practice where we really ground down and get into that quantum level. I like to say that state of flow. And then we just create a little mini map for our lives and help each other out. And so if she wants to be a DJ, I might have a DJ gig and we help each other out that way. But then we clear out, because I think part of the biggest thing with energy work is clearing out maybe some of the resistance around there, some of the old stories, some of the old patterns. So we do take a little bit of time to clear that all out so the path is open and you get that divine guidance and that divine action that you can take. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes, 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 yes. And the fact that you're using fun all the time, like that is your main word that you keep dropping. I'm like, yes, we are bringing fun back in. And the fact of like having a support system, having this community of people that's like in the background, yeah, way to go. Yeah, go girl, you got this. I never realized how powerful that was until I joined some sort of a mastermind. And having that right mastermind that pushes you forward, it does really let you do those quantum leaps.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And it's so powerful, right? That collective. And one of the fun things we do, I think, with which is really fun, is we do that quantum activation on our own goals. That process I was telling you, we have a 3-step process on our own goals, but collectively as a group, we put everybody else's in there too. So we're energizing not only our own, but we're energizing everybody's as well. So it's a really fun group of support.
So what's the biggest shift in your personal business once you put this, quantum activation into your own? own life?
So into my own life, I'll give you I'm just gonna get real honest here. Into the good, the good and the awesome, right? When I started playing with this, when I started doing this quantum activation process, um, the first one I did was back when the real estate market crashed. We had we had a property that we had done a short sale on. So we had like this heavy debt around it. We had a judgment. It just wasn't it. It was what it was. It is what it is, right? And so I had this debt that was lingering over my shoulders for like 10 years. So you think of this big weighted ball of like having this huge debt that I've been dragging on with me forever. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to play with this. Let's see how this works. So I did this quantum activation process and I put the debt inside of it. And what you'll love, Jennifer, which is like, I was so excited to find your podcast, was I sent it love. I put it in an energy ball and I sent it love, and I sent the banks love, and I sent that attorney involved love, and everybody that was in that process, I sent them all love energetically. And within 3 weeks, we had a solution, a win-win solution for everybody involved after 10 years that it resolved. And so we had a resolution within 3 weeks, and then it took maybe 3 more weeks to resolve it fully. But it was magical and it was super fun. So that was the first one. So I was like, ooh, this is kind of cool. So then I was like, okay, how do I do this in my other business? And I was like, I kind of want to do like a lot split in my area with real estate. And I would love to like have it so it's not so far away. And I want to have it so that it's fun, of course, easy. And so I did this process again. I used this quantum activation process, and I sent love to the seller, and all the people involved, and the people that would have new houses, everybody involved. And sure enough, 3 weeks later, I don't know what it is about me in 3 weeks, but I had the opportunity within my neighborhood to do this lot split. And I was like, wow, this is a really fun thing with any business to be able to like play with this. And so whether it's resolving conflict in your business or bringing in more abundance, which is really huge for your business, it's a really fun, powerful tool that you can use in your business.
Oh, I'm like, okay, so we have to look into what the threes mean at some point in time, because I'm sure there is something powerful about a 3 or it wouldn't keep showing up. So when you talk about this activation around manifesting an abundance, because again, as spiritual healers, many of us have that weird feeling that we aren't supposed to be paid for our gifts, and like, cancel that. We're going to bring in something new. But how do you use this if, let's say, somebody is ready to move to that next level, but they need the funds, maybe to bring on another teammate, or they need to get to the next level so they can donate to that, whatever group it is they want, or, maybe it's to fly a private jet somewhere. No shame in if it's, abundance for self either.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what it's kind of amazing when I loved your scenarios, right? Okay, so like you're like, okay, it would be great if I could fly in a private jet to Florida and get la 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 la, right? But and so what the cool thing is you're giving scenarios about people coming in, about the activity that you want to show up, which I think is really important, right? Because I think where the mismatch is in people's energies and alignments is they're like, I want $1 million. Oh! Right? And they're like, come on. it's this misalignment of energy, right? But if you're like, oh my gosh, I would love if the right person came in to promote my business and to, help me bring in more clients, and it was a win-win, that just feels better, right? That kind of just flows better. And so, yes, you can, on a quantum level, you can totally bring in whatever you want. That's what I believe. You can totally bring in whatever you want, as long as your energies are aligned, which I'm sure you've heard before. So I love what's interesting is on a bigger scale, right? I feel like we're exactly where we need to be at this moment, right? Like this is where you need to be, and that everything you need is kind of around you. And you just have to maybe look a little bit more or ask a little bit more and be open to receiving a little bit more. And so, yeah, I loved your examples of like more specifics, right? Like, okay, it would be great if I flew in a jet plane. And I think the other biggest secret to this, and I'm sure you've discussed this before, is people put on, when they ask for things and they're using quantum, they want it done this way, right? And so they are trying to force it this way. If it doesn't show up this way, then it's not right. And because the universe is abundant, because there's so many other things going on, you really have to be open to if it shows up in a way that's different from what you wanted, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes. And so I'll give you this example. It's kind of funny. So one time, a few months ago, I was like, oh, it would be really nice to get like 270 units, apartments, and be at a great price, and I don't know, like all this other stuff. I was seller carry and all this stuff, right? And all of a sudden, this is so funny. You're gonna love this, Jennifer. A week later, my husband comes. He goes, "Hey, I just ran across this deal. It's 270 units, and it was like the numbers kind of make sense, but it's in Iowa." And I'm like, "Huh, okay." And I was like, well, I didn't get it. He got it, but it showed up. So I was like, no, let's reel it in. Let's be grateful. It was like, let's let the universe provide and open to receive. It just doesn't have to show up the way you necessarily want it to show up. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. And it does show up in random ways. I know that I love to collect books. Well, let's be honest. I buy them thinking I'm going to read them, and I collect them. And I ask the universe, I'm like, okay, should I buy this book? And then I drive to the grocery store thinking about this book. I get out of the car. A gust of wind comes up and a $20 bill hits me. The book is $19.99, mind you. And I'm like, okay, well, then we're going to get the book.
Oh my gosh, I love that. See, isn't that awesome?
So, although it's not a 270 unit thing, it's anything that you really speak into existence with intention.
Yes.
I feel like it comes back. It's like universe or whatever you believe in. It's like, yes, here you go. And like you said, specific, be very specific. I mean, 270 units, very specific, and being open to however it came in. So did you get the property?
Well, we did an evaluation on it. And the one manager that I wanted to go and manage the property, because that's not really our expertise, didn't want to do it. And so we talked to a few other managers, and at the time, it just didn't really make sense for us. So next time, I'll include the management. Next time, I'll include the management. But the fun thing is, I think this is so important, Jennifer. It's like, it's not just a one and done. Oh, there's units, you're done. Oh, you missed your opportunity for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It's like, no, this is the play. This is the fun. This is the creation. This is where we're at. Like, maybe you want 10 units. It's all good. Or maybe you want, like a different book or something else. It's like, there's no faucet turning off unless you turn it off, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's juicy. We're the only ones stopping ourselves from achieving and making those wishes come true.
Oh my gosh, totally. And I think one of the main things is like timeline, right? It's like you can ask, but the other thing is to let go of the timeline. Totally let go of the timeline because it may not be the right time for you at this moment. And like, I'll give you another example. When I was younger, I wanted to go to Australia. I was like, oh, I wrote in my journal, I said, oh, it'd be so great if I went to Australia and checked it out, and, whatever. And it was just really on my heart. I really wanted to go to Australia. And so I kind of put it away and I forgot about it. And a year later, my girlfriend calls me up. I'm Canadian, so she calls me up from Canada. She goes, "Hey, I'm going to Australia. I'm going traveling for a year. Do you want to come?" And honestly, everything lined up. My job said I could go. I worked really hard, saved lots of money. I was in my 20s, and I saved a ton of money, and I went to Australia for a month, and it was perfect timing. And everything was just lovely. So I spent my 25th birthday going to Australia, which was something I always wanted to do. And I kind of forgot I had written that. And so when I came back, I was looking at one of my journals and I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot that I wanted to go to Australia. And here it was. But had I forced it or tried to plan it at that time, it just wasn't the right time for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That forcing stops so many things. And I think that's what's the disservice in this, in like the business coaching world right now, is that everything is forced. Come do my strategy, but that doesn't feel good. I don't care. I did it, so you can do it. And it becomes so forced, we get burnt out, and it dulls the light on our actual magic inside.
Right? Oh my gosh, that is so, so important. And our society is like, go, 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 hustle, 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 hustle. And I want to, if it's okay, I'd love to share with you lately what I've been doing is with our wishes group, we're trying to break that mold because I've got like real estate investors who are pretty hardcore, right? And there's some other business owners and some healers, but so I'm like, okay, we're going to go through just like cycles, right? How do you break that hustle and grind, right? We're going to go through cycles. We're going to be like the seasons, just like the day. We're going to change up how we work. And I don't know if you've talked about this with other people, but it's like this week, we're going to rest and reflect. And it is so hard for them. We're going to build in that rest and reflect. Next week, we're going to do some planning and some planning. The week after, we'll do some connection and to be visible and to get out there. And then the week after, we're going to clean up and we're going to focus and clean up all our projects. And so it's been a really fun journey. I've just started this about a month and a half. And obviously it doesn't mean like completely do nothing all week, like rest and reflect. Like I get it. Like we all have things to do. But maybe just schedule in a little bit of that like space. That space so you can create, so you can receive, so you can like just ground down. Because have you ever noticed that like when you're in the shower, that's where all your cool ideas come in, right? When you give yourself that space. And so we're just working on kind of this reprogramming of getting into flow, getting into fun. Like, yes, it's a really interesting dynamic. How do you create that? How do you create this space? Let's create more abundance. And just kind of getting into a whole different energy around our business and our lives.
Yes. Yes. Flow, fun. I'm like speaking my love language right there is, and it's so funny that you mentioned the rest and, relax portion, because as someone who is, the honor roll student, if I'd ground myself if I got less than an A. Like my parents did never have to discipline me. I'm like, oh, I'm disciplining myself. B is not acceptable. That rest time, I took a few weeks off and I came back and magically clients just appeared because I allowed myself to just slow down enough. Because here's the thing that I've learned about rest is you have to rest, because then that goes into that that feminine, but that able to receive. You can't receive if you're in hustle because you don't have time to receive those clients.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So true. So true. So true. So even nature rests, right? Like nature has night, they're resting, trees are resting, like everything's resting. So, yes, it's so powerful and so undervalued in our society. So undervalued. And that's where the magic is. That's really where the magic is in the rest.
Yes, 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 all the yeses. So if someone wanted to come and hang out with Wishes Come True, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can go to wishescometrue.com and we meet every Monday at 8 o'clock Arizona time. So 8 a.m. Arizona time. And my goal is for that is within the hour, within 1 hour from 8 to 9, you get into a state of flow, which ironically, by slowing down, I just read in Forbes this great article that talked about getting into the state of flow. That when you get into the state of flow, there was a 10-year study. 10 years, these guys, 10 years, that's a long time to study people. Like 10 years, they studied the top producers in different industries. And what they noticed was the guys who got into flow, guys and gals that got into a flow state were 5 times more productive than the other people. 5 times. And so I was like, wow, that is really cool. So I love that you're like, Jennifer, you're like, you slow down and you rest, and you're actually getting more done. So by getting into this flow state every Monday morning, we take I'm mindful of people's times, because everybody is.
Yeah.
So we get into that flow state. We take some time to get into that flow state and create that mini map of what you want to create in your life, right? And so we do that, and then we clear out all the blocks and just leave you in this really positive, juicy, fun, energetic state for the week, so that you feel refreshed, you feel fulfilled, you feel full of love, you feel that self-care and business all in one. And then you're in that flow state where you have that mini map for the week. You have aligned actions. We got to take action, right? Aligned actions for the week, so that you can come and join me 8 a.m. for an hour and create your mini map and get into a flow state and get into that energy state and really just create an incredible life you love, which I don't know, I'm a little biased, so it's a lot of fun. And what's interesting is it's an evolution, right? It is reprogramming. It's an evolution. It's expansion of your energy. And I almost want to say it's like a gym workout for your soul every week, right? You get to that higher level, you get to that that elevated state, but if you drop back down, it's okay. Like, we're going to get back up, and we're going to, and what's going to happen is when you'll just become just that higher state of flow on a consistent basis. And so that's my goal, is that Jennifer comes in and she's like, bam, I'm like super energized, and I'm just creating the life I love, and I'm living my best life, and I'm creating impact, and I'm living my dream, and I'm super excited about everything.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm just going to keep saying yes, because I'm like, oh, it's so cool what you're creating. And the fact that you keep using all of the words that light my heart up: impact and fun and flow and freedom. And I think that's what we really need in our lives in business. Is we all want to make that big impact, whether that's an impact on our bank account or on someone's life, but we forget that it can be in flow and fun.
Yes. And it's even more powerful. Even more powerful. I have been in masterminds with some of the top world leaders, like the people who are really moving and shaking. And this is the one component that they are doing, that they are practicing, that they don't talk about. They're starting to, obviously. They're starting to. But this is the key, the secret that has everything else just work. Your relationships work, your finances work, your business works, everything works when you get into this energy and the state of flow and love,
Yes.
right? That state
Flow
of
and love. It all
flow.
starts within.
Yeah. I love it.
So if someone were to walk away with just that like boom, mic drop moment that they took with them for the rest of their life, what would you want them to walk away with?
I think what I would love is here, if you put your hands on your heart and you breathe into your heart space. At any time where you're overwhelmed, where you're afraid, you're scared, you just have that uneasiness about you. That if you just put your hands on your heart and breathe into your heart space, that you can drop down into your body and you can just ground down and take some time because you're so important. You're so loved. You are so magical, and that you have it within you. If you tap into your essence, you can do anything you want.